Hello, everyone, and welcome to another year of Kids Cafe training. All sites and folks working at these sites must complete training every year as per Florida state requirements. So let's get started. Let's define Kids Cafe. And the important thing here is that it's funded by government. The two agencies that are the regulatory oversight agencies are the U.S. Department of Agriculture on the federal level, as well as the Department of Health here in Florida, specifically the Child Care Food Program. To define terms again, we are sponsors. We have 28 locations. We've had as many as 30, and so we are charged with maintaining and overseeing these locations in order to get food to kids. We recruit sites, and then we enter into agreements, and we are responsible for all of the regulatory compliance. And here's a list of things that must be done. Attendance. You have to serve one meal at a time, and you have to count them one at a time. And the meals must be served after school hours. You can't give meals to adults, and you can only serve one meal per child per meal type. We typically send suppers and snacks, so you would give a child one supper and one snack. You have to handle food safely, and you have to serve at the agreed upon time, which is up to you. You define your times, but you have to stick to them. Milk must be served with all suppers, and all the food must be eaten on site. Cannot be taken home. During COVID, they were allowing that, but no longer. And you must give every component to the children. You must count these meals daily using Meal Tracker, which is our digital reporting tool, and you also have to keep manual tallies as backups in order to be able to keep accurate counts. Software can crash and we can have glitches, and we have had glitches with meal counter and other things. So just keep that manual tally. You tick the meals off as they are being served. Obviously, there can be no discrimination, and we'll have a separate training on civil rights. There will be a video that's really important for you to watch. We, Chris and I, and others here, must visit your locations at least 3 times a year. These are called monitorings, and we're there while the meals are being served. Department of Health and the USDA make unannounced visits. I know that DOH local does select locations at random once in a while, and they will pop in. USDA has not ever popped into our sites, but they could because they're the funding agency at the federal level. These after-school meal programs must offer enrichment activities, and you all have those. Those are organized activities in the afternoon that can be anywhere between mentoring, physical activity, reading, computers, and a whole host of other categories. There are certain documents that must be posted, and many of you are familiar with these, but I'll list them here, and you can see them there. Specifically, that Justice for All flyer, that's really, really important, and everything else is important. You kind of have to have it, and we periodically will drop by to make sure you have the latest document. And you must be trained annually. This is what this is all about. Sanitation permits, you also have to we keep track of them to make sure that they're valid and that the inspections are up to date. Every month you have to give us the names of the kids. So this is called an enrolled program. Not that they're necessarily enrolled in your specific program with your activities, but that names are kept. That is it. So if you have kids coming in that are so-called walk-ins, you would want to scribble their names down on the attendance sheet because we need to have names. Unlike our summer program, this program requires names. Missing meal counts every month. I know a lot of sites miss their counts, and we're working on trying to correct that. It causes a lot of work for us, and we would really appreciate it if counts were done daily on Meal Counter, which is the digital reporting app. Every month, you would give us an updated enrichment form. It's a very simple one page, and we will get those to you. And they haven't really changed in terms of the format for many, many years now. Needless to say, this is kind of a no-brainer. You can't, the sites are not, cannot ask for donations or money or anything in exchange for this food. And also, you can't sell them or trade them or take them off the premises anywhere. They're for the kids and kids only, 18 and under, not to be moved from the location, not to be given away somewhere else, and not to be sold or not to be required to have worship in exchange for food for those faith-based locations. Our responsibilities are as follows. We deliver the meals. We make sure that everything is according to the regulatory outlines or guidelines. We ensure that the meals are served safely according to the Department of Health, which is also temperature controls and things like that. And we are required to collect documentation from the sites on a regular basis, which we do. And we're here to provide support. And so we are also responsible for program operation during your service time. Just during that narrow time in which you are serving, this is our responsibility as well to make sure that it's being done correctly. Other than that, we don't interfere with your program operations. And we have administrative staff here to oversee the program. And daily, this is what happens, as you probably know. We prepare the meals. A driver shows up here to our production center. They pick up the meals and they go off to deliver. They deliver with a delivery slip that someone at the site must sign and receive. And you keep a copy, and one copy comes back to us. This is really important because this is what shows that we are actually sending food to the location. And it's very important for audit purposes that I have all of these signed delivery slips. There are also temperature notations that need to be completed to show that we are sending the food at temperature. Here, really important before the driver leaves, make sure you have the correct number of meals and that you've signed the receipt. Make sure you get your milk. Refrigerate things quickly. If there's anything that you need to let us know, write it on the back of the delivery receipt, please. Don't write it in the front. It clutters things up. Write it in the back. Sign it, keep a copy. So what you do at these locations is all on this slide. You want to make sure that your attendance roster, that is the names of the kids, is updated. If you have new kids coming in, you need to get their names down. And that's it. There's no other identifier. There's no other identifier, just the names. You want to make sure that you have the meals ready to be served on time, and that manual tick sheet or tally sheet, as I call it, ready. And it's important to sort of have that backup and do it manually because, as I said, the software has had glitches and it will continue to do so. And even if it's working perfectly, there's cell phone coverage, there's Wi-Fi problems. So please do a manual count as well. And you can only mark one meal per child at the point of service. That is, give a meal, tick off a meal, one at a time. And all components are given to the child or the youngster. And when it's over, you transfer that number from your manual sheet to Meal Counter, which is our digital reporting app. Please report promptly. We depend on these counts to determine what the performance is so that we can prevent waste. We're able to adjust what we're going to send you based on what you report. You may need more, so I need to know this. If we don't get it, then we're not able to adjust, and then the efficiency of the program is diminished, and we would have a hard time with sustainability. The program's been around since 2002, and my goal is to have it go for another 50 years. I don't want to have this program sunset for any reason, whether it be financial or regulatory, because it just wouldn't be fair to the community and the over almost 1,000 kids that are benefiting from this every single day while school is in session. So to define, to contrast attendance versus count. Okay, so what is attendance as we use it? It's the names of the kids that show up, right? Whether they eat or not, they're showing up. 50 kids showed up. The count is the number of kids that want food, that receive meals. These are two different things because not every kid may want to eat, right? So you have 50 kids and only 40 would want to eat. So the 50 kids, you should have their names, and this is the attendance. The 40 kids who ate, these are the ones that you're counting on meal counter. Be aware that you cannot serve more meals than there are kids. If 50 kids show up, you can't serve 60 meals. It is not allowed. And this is one reason that we need the attendance, and it's not just us, it's required because the state will come over and do an audit, and they will look at a particular day and go, hey, there's 50 kids here on your list, but you serve 60 meals. And that is a violation. It's only one meal per child. And those are federal regulations that we can't get around. So please, please, please make sure you give us the names. Okay, you want to count, you want to keep your delivery slips, sign them, and you want to keep your attendance, and then you want to give us the enrichment activity uh, for the month, right? And here's a little definition of enrichment. You can read it for yourself. It's easy. Almost anything qualifies. Computers, reading, tutoring. It's got to be something that is offered daily, okay? That is offered daily in a somewhat structured manner. And please, so your paperwork, we always struggle to get these. We would really, really appreciate it if you get it by if we get it by the 10th. It says the 5th there, but I'm happy if we get it on the 10th. Um, it's just Chris and me right now, and there's a lot of stuff to keep track of. As far as the counts daily, please, use the web-based app, Meal Counter, and we remind you when you miss counts. Um, and as this last bullet point states, this is really required to prevent waste and to ensure that the program is there for us in the future. Because if it's not financially viable, it would be subject to review internally here, and I never want to lose this program. Each meal is to be counted as it is served. That is what point of service is. You need to do it on paper, and later on, after you do it on paper, you transfer that number over to meal counter. It's saying 1 hour. This is what the state is telling us has to happen. Please try to get it to us as soon as you complete the count. This is what our manual tally sheet looks like. We send it out to you. You can have this out on a clipboard, and you can, on the left side, we have snacks. On the right side, we have suppers. There are a handful of sites that only do suppers, and that's cool. You would only use the right side. On this sheet, it's important that you write the name of the site. Sometimes we get these, and we don't know who it comes from because there's nothing there on the site line. Of course, you need to put the date, and you need to sign it. We then get this, we enter the count, and we upload this, and we store it digitally to prove that these meals were actually served at your location by you, and not that we completed this form here at Second Harvest. It's a matter of accountability and transparency. This is just an example of a monthly attendance sheet, right? It's just got the names and the dates. End of story. They were absent or they were present. This is not for counting. This is simply to keep track of those kids showing up. And you might have 30 on the first, and that means that you can't serve more than 30 meals, right? So just make sure that you use one that's like this, or we can provide you with this one. Okay, just little things to remember. We've gone over this already. Complete meals, eat at site, no takeout, except some occasions where you can take a little, I don't know, a muffin, an apple, something small can actually be taken. Um, Make sure you stay organized and served at the proper time. If you need to change your times, let us know. We don't want the state showing up there and you're serving at the wrong time. You can serve whenever you want, but it has to be a consistent thing. And the reason is that that's when the kids show up and they need to know when these meals are being served. So they need to be served at whatever time you determine, but they have to be consistent unless you tell us you want to change it. And then we'll reflect it in the computer system. Never refuse food to kids and practice safe food handling. Here's the enrichment form. Not a big deal. It's the same thing. It hasn't changed forever. Just a slight summary of what you're offering. Civil rights, as I said, we're going to have a separate video that is not produced by us, it's produced by somebody else, and it meets the requirements for you to understand what this is. Every year, we have to introduce you to this and make sure that you understand what civil rights based on these federally funded programs is all about. And the reason this is so important is that anything that is paid for and supported by the taxpayer has to be available and accessible to all people, regardless of race, color, and these other categories here. So this is really important. The same holds true for the WIC program. It holds true for food stamps and any other federally funded program. It's all about accessibility by everyone. On this slide, you have images of the uh, documents that need to be on display. Now, it's really important that you remember to display these where the kids and parents, if they should happen to come in, would see them. Don't put them in your office and don't put them in a locked area in the kitchen where people cannot see them. The folks that are attending the location must be able to see these things, okay? That's the idea behind this. This building for the future, this simply is a document that kind of lets people know that these are federal funds being used for this program. This has been around for a long, long time, and it's just a matter of having it posted. And it's got to be in 3 languages. We give you those: English, Spanish, and Creole. Best practices: point of service, give a meal, count a meal. Keep things refrigerated or in the warmers that we provide to you. Keep your warmers at temperature. Use thermometers. Report problems quickly. You know, we're always available. You can text us, you can call us, and we're always here to help. We monitor. Monitoring is all about us observing your program. That is what's going on. And we're required to visit 3 times. We will show up. Department of Health may do so, USDA or even Feeding America. They've never shown up. USDA has never shown up. Florida Department of Health shows up every year at selected locations. But we just have to make sure that everybody's doing things in compliance. And this way, you know, it's easy when everyone's doing everything according to the rules and there's no stress. And anybody who shows up will show ID, and you know us, so our face is our ID, I guess, Chris and myself. So what happens in some locations when we visit that we need to correct is that, you know, folks are not counting at the point of service. They're just putting the meals out on the table and letting everyone go at it. You can't do that. That's not the way it's got to be done. That's not the way the government wants it. And if the government's going to fund us for these meals, they have to be done according to their rules, unfortunately. I need to point out that if we were not getting government funding, we could not do this. There's no way we can prepare these meals. They're expensive. They're made from scratch. The components are not donated. All of this food we have to buy. We have to pay staff. Then we have to get all this equipment, and then we have to put it on trucks and trailers. We have to provide warmers. It's very expensive. So as a charity, our main line of service is food to households. These are boxes of food with tuna and mac and cheese and things like that. These are prepared meals every day. We have a whole staff. So my point is that they're expensive to make and even more expensive to transport. And without the support of government, we simply could not offer this. Okay, so records not on site. You need the counts, you need the delivery slips, you need the attendance. You need to have that on site. Block claiming. Um, if you have a consistent count of 35, 35, 35, 35, 35, it's almost impossible with the nature of kids and people that these 35 kids are going to show up every single day, month after month after month. People get sick, people have things in their family. Someday you've got to have 34, and someday you've got to have 33, and some days 35. So if I see 35, 35, 35, this is a bit of a problem because I can get flagged on this side. And they're going to go, what's the deal with this? They're not really counting the kids. They're just being lazy and they're just writing out 35. So be aware of that. It really doesn't affect you on that side, but when they audit me and they look at these recurrent block claims, I have to explain that. Okay, so Justice for All poster is missing. Well, that's a huge deal. That green poster must be there. This is super, super important. And then other documents not posted, like the sanitation permit and things like that, or that new WIC poster. There's a WIC poster there that's got to be up as well. So briefly, we're going to have a different, separate, safe food handling video, more extensive, but we'll cover a little bit here. Obviously, hand washing, gloves, temperatures, trash can liners, and having your kids wash their hands before being served food. Here are the danger zones. We've gone over this before. We know that food that is above 41 degrees, that's supposed to be refrigerated, is unsafe and bacteria will breed on it. If food is hot and it's under 135 degrees, it's also the danger zone. And what that means is that it's a fertile environment for bacteria to breed. So food needs to stay out of the danger zone, which means getting your refrigerator to make sure it's at 40 or 39, and your warmers to be above 135 before our food gets there, so that when you put the food in, that temperature will be preserved, okay? Cross-contamination, you don't really work too much with that because you don't prepare food. And hygiene, obviously. Improper cleaning and sanitizing of surfaces. We've had a couple of visits by Department of Health saying that some of the locations, or a couple of visits, resulted in findings that these areas where the food is being placed was not being wiped down. So that concludes this part. You can call us. There is my number. There is Chris's number and our email. As I said, we're going to have a more extensive orientation on safe food handling, prepared by someone else who's much more professional at that than me, and of course the civil rights video. Now, when you're done with this whole thing, and I hope you will have watched, you can print out this PowerPoint, you can read it, you can look it over, you can ask questions. You need to complete that certificate of acknowledgement, I think I called it. And that will be documentation that you're signing off that you are aware of what's in this PowerPoint. I'm going to invite the new folks to Second Harvest, and I think it's important. We're going to work out schedules where you guys can pop in here whenever you are available, and Chris and I will take you around. We want to make sure you understand who we are, not just with this small program, which is relatively small compared to what Second Harvest does, but we want to show you our facility, and we want to show you where the food is made so that you have a more direct understanding of who we are and what we do and where we are. So I'm going to ask that all new folks come and see us, and I'm going to make it a requirement, but we're going to work it out so you can pop in at a time that's convenient for you, and it'll be somewhat informal, okay? So important, sign the document, get it back to me, and we hope to see you soon when we monitor. And again, Thank you so much for so many years of Kids Cafe. We're talking about this thing started in 1998, and so you do the math. That's like what, 25 years of Kids Cafe, and we hope to have many, many, many more. Thank you so much.